To be the best fantasy football analyst, you have to beat the best fantasy football players, which is what I did. I participated in the Hardway League over on the FFPC inside of the Big Gorilla Tourney. $1 million to first place. I participated against former $1 million champions, Abib, Go Bills. We have Fantasy Mojo in this league. Many fantasy football champions, Theo Greminger from Fantasy Points. I drafted out of the 4 slot in this $350 fantasy football draft. This was my very first redraft fantasy football league of the year. Keep in mind, one little wrinkle that is different about the FFPC is it is tight end premium. So Brock Bowers, Colson Lovell, and Trey McBride, these guys get 1.5 points per receptions. Other than that, it is a normal PPR league. You start 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and 2 flex positions. Drawing the 4th spot, I knew that I was going to start with a receiver, which does make things a little bit more difficult, right? Because then you were looking at a clear second tier of running backs. It was a no-brainer to me to take Puka Nacua at the 4th slot. I actually had to think quite hard when I came up in the second round. Colston Loveland was a clear target of mine heading into this. I think that Colston Loveland can have 100 catches this season. I think it's possible that Colston Loveland outscores Trey McBride, not because Loveland is better, although I think Loveland might be better, but more that when it comes to the money weeks in fantasy football, weeks 15, 16, and 17, when we are trying to beat our friends or we're trying to win $1 million, Trey McBride might have Carson Beck as his quarterback. He might have Gardner Minshew as his quarterback. That I don't love. I obviously would have been happy, I think, to take Saquon Barkley. I would have been happy to take Chase Brown at the 2.9. I also would have been happy to take Kenneth Walker, who went way earlier. Not nearly as happy to take Amari Hampton. Not nearly as happy to take ETN. A little bit of good luck here that I ended up in a position to not select Josh Jacobs. So I did take Colston Loveland. I expect him to basically be close to like a 13, 14 points per game player. I think that he could very easily lead the Chicago Bears in targets. The next decision was much tougher. When I came up to pick at the 3.4, so the 28th overall pick in this draft, who I wanted to take was Breece Hall or Derrick Henry. That was who I had in my queue. I saw Theo Greminger select Breece right ahead. That was a bummer. I did really want Breece on this team. I was not trying to go into this draft doing a 0 running back team. I don't think that 0 running back is a particularly great strategy this year. I think there are a lot of flaws in it. One of the big problems is that the profiles we like for 0 running back drafters, they're just way more expensive. Byshell Tootin, Jalen Warren, RJ Harvey, in years past, these guys would have been much less expensive, but they're priced all the way up this year. What I ended up doing, and this is the honest to goodness truth, I flipped a coin between Rashee Rice and Malik Neighbors. I think they're really good picks in leagues where you feel good about your ability to outmaneuver other people on the waiver wire. No disrespect to my very good league mates in this league, but I'm the waiver wire king. I feel very good about me being able to scrimp and save, find spot starts at quarterback, at tight end, at kicker, at defense. And I want to embrace the volatility in a lot of formats for Rashee Rice and Malik Neighbors. Even if Neighbors misses a month of the season because he has to go on the PUP list, I would think he was pretty strong. My current belief on Rashee Rice is that he will not serve a suspension. I think as of the incidents right now, I do not think he will be suspended. Obviously, the variance that you have to embrace with Rashee, though, is he might do something else stupid, which is, maybe why some people are not drafting in May. So my team through 3 rounds, Puka, Loveland, Rice. I then, at the 45th overall pick, added Bucky Irving. I, again, got sniped on this one by Noah. Cam Scatterbo is who I wanted. Cam Scatterbo was in the queue. That was pretty brutal. I'm not even a Bucky guy, really, and his average draft position is going to be lower than this because of the report when Todd Bowles said he'll be back, quote, in the summer or the fall. Not exactly what you want from your running back one. But I think that if you run hot with Bucky Irving, where Kenneth Gainwell is not playing every third down, Sean Tucker is not getting all the rushes inside the 5, which is something that I don't think the Buccaneers know. I don't think Bucky Irving knows. And we certainly do not know how they plan on disseminating those touches. We do know that Bucky has one very great season of scoring actual fantasy points and 2 great years of scoring fantasy points above expectation. He is going to be a player who is more efficient than league average on the touches that he does get. Then Trevion Henderson back around at 52. Again, I probably would have been fine with David Montgomery. I would have been fine with Byshell Tootin. He was in my queue. Funnily enough, Jadarian Price was also in my queue, who went 1 pick before me in the 6th round before I took Jordan Tyson. Not much to say about Trevion Henderson. I just think he's one of the few guys who's actually underpriced relative to his his profile. Ramondre Stevenson will probably get the first carry of the season for the Patriots, but Trevion Henderson is a better fantasy asset because, again, he is going to score fantasy points over expectation. He's going to be involved in the passing game. He's going to be more explosive. He's going to average more yards per carry. And over the course of the season, these are bets that I like to make wherein I'm betting that the more efficient, more explosive player ends up being the better fantasy football asset. Heading into the 6th round, I knew that I needed some running back points. I did not want to double up on Ramondre and Henderson together. I think in best ball, you can do that a little bit. I don't love doing that in redraft formats. I really wanted Jadarian Price. I thought Price would have been a great fit for this team because I could have potentially even started Price over Bucky Irving or Henderson if things go against them in the first week of the season because Charbonnet is not going to be back. So I was bummed out that he went at pick 68. At pick 69, I took Jordan Tyson as my third wide receiver. Again, I think I'm going to feel comfortable starting Jordan Tyson in the first week of the season. I don't think he's going to be behind Devon Vele or Bub Means. I really like Jordan Tyson as a prospect at Arizona State. The slap model, which you can check out over on flockfantasy.com, is very, very high on Jordan Tyson. Had Jordan Tyson as the best wide receiver in the class, draft capital agnostic. And even when inputting draft capital, Jordan Tyson's still the number one wide receiver in my modeling over Carnell Tate. Basically very close between him and Jameson Williams. Those were the two guys I wanted there. I also had RJ Harvey in my queue, who then went the pick before Tony Pollard. I mean, Tony Pollard is basically built for teams like this. Like, I just need someone steady, someone who I could theoretically start again if things go against Bucky Irving or Trevion Henderson. I expect Tony Pollard to get every opportunity to start and play for the Tennessee Titans. We're going to have Tajay Spears on passing downs. If things go against the Titans and the Titans stink, Tony Pollard could get traded. Tony Pollard could just get benched for Nicholas Singleton. But to start the year, I know what I'm going to be getting out of Tony Pollard. Then I did a move that I love in tight end premium formats. This obviously does not apply as much to your home leagues, although I do think home leagues are going to trend more tight end heavy than ever this year because so many teams are going to be playing 12 and 13 personnel to the point that lead tight ends, I think, are going to outscore more wide receiver twos and certainly more wide receiver threes than the market anticipates right now. In a tight end premium format, I took Travis Kelce at 93. This is the perfect format for Travis Kelce where he might struggle efficiency-wise. He might struggle to score. He might struggle to generate yak the way he had done at his peak. But Travis Kelce is not going to struggle for receptions, right? I mean, if you knew that Travis Kelce was playing 17 games with Patrick Mahomes, which should be our basic expectation, your thought for his reception should be like 85 receptions, 95 receptions. Like, he could catch 100 passes, particularly if he replaces some of the short area Rashee Rice stuff and they have Rashee Rice running a more complete route tree. So I felt very, very good about that pick. And in fact, I will probably in week 1 and maybe even all the way through the rest of the season, I will probably be starting Travis Kelce over Jordan Tyson. You know, Tyson obviously has a greater upside and a wider range of outcomes, but Travis Kelce is one of the absolute safest floors in a format that rewards receptions for tight ends. And this is not a dynasty league, right? I don't care that the dude is 38 years old. The next two picks, these next two picks took this draft from what would have felt like a B- to probably like, honest to goodness, I think I killed this draft. Like, in terms of the plan I had coming in to the team I had leaving it, I think I absolutely smoked what I wanted to do because I was able to get J.K. Dobbins at pick 100. Again, week 1 starting running back for the Denver Broncos. And I have enough of these guys because then I also took Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt. So between Pollard, Dobbins, and Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt, I think what I did is I kind of drafted my running backs in reverse. And that actually makes sense if you think about it. Back in the day when I started playing fantasy football, guys like Bucky Irving and Trevion Henderson, you would have gotten those guys after pick 100. I mean, Trevion Henderson, when I started doing fantasy football analysis, would have legitimately been like a 12th round pick because of Ramondre Stevenson. Now what's happened is drafters have gotten smarter. They've gotten more forward thinking. And what we've realized is that the guys who have the ability to generate the fantasy points over expectation, like Bucky Irving, like Trevion Henderson, need to be priced up because they are potential league winners. Pollard, Dobbins, and Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt are not potential league winners. Pollard is not on a good enough offense, and then J.K. Dobbins and Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt do not have the receiving potential because what you really have to do to quote my friend Pat Carrain, to get the legendary upside season, you basically have to average at least 4 catches per game. Dobbins and Corey Krosky-Merritt, between the two of them, might not average 2 receptions per game, but they will be the early down running backs on what I expect to be good offenses. And because those offenses are good, they'll also have the ability to generate touchdowns. So again, those guys are probably going to be more in like the 9.5 to 10.5 fantasy points per game range, which is not great, but it's definitely better than a lot of the strategies I've taken in these formats in the past, where we have just gone, all in on the wide receivers, tried to get 6 of the top 15 wide receivers, and then been starting, absolutely starting fullbacks at running back too in order to get the points. I took Patrick Mahomes as the stack there. Then I actually backdoored Patrick Mahomes with Kyler Murray. Generally speaking, in these formats, I think you probably only want to take one quarterback. There are two things that happen here. The first, and I'm going to be honest with this, it's a little bit of best ball brain for me. I've been doing thousands and thousands of best ball drafts, and in those formats, you absolutely have to take two quarterbacks, probably three. The other thing is there's a small chance that Mahomes starts the year relatively slow in terms of fantasy points. I don't think that's going to happen for Kyler at all. If anything, Kyler is probably going to start the year very hot in terms of fantasy points because he will be running more at the beginning of the year. There's a chance he gets banged up. There's a chance that the team kind of finds its groove with Damon Claiborne or Jordan Mason on the ground. But Patrick Mahomes is going to be active week one. Mahomes should not be going after Jackson Dart. He should not be going after Trevor Lawrence. Like Patrick Mahomes, I mean, he's going to start week one. He's going to be very good for fantasy. He's one of the most underpriced guys on the board. This is the start of the range of the draft where you start taking darts. And my first thought is, well, man, it's going to be great to cut that guy. So I added Antonio Williams as my fourth wide receiver in this draft. Then I added Kalen Black, I think a very high upside dart. I would say if Kalen Black sticks at around 14 price, there's a chance he ends up being on like 80% of my fantasy football teams this year, because by week one, could be super, super clear that he is just the handcuff to Christian McCaffrey. It's a little bit of a roster clogging situation because he's not going to have any standalone value, but he is going to have immense handcuff value if he ends up clearly winning that job over Jordan James. Next up, same team, Deshaun Stribling, the 33rd overall pick in the NFL draft. A lot of different ways this stuff can play out. It can be a Xavier Legette situation, or it could be a Ladd McConkey situation where a guy gets way overdrafted relative to the scouting consensus coming in. I guess Ladd was not that overdrafted relative to his scouting consensus, but Ladd was a relatively cheap player in fantasy football his rookie year. Then I added in Jerry Jeudy. This one is just sort of a what if we're wrong about the Cleveland Browns. And also Jeudy, again, is going to be like about 85% of the routes. If I'm pressed into starting Jerry Jeudy, I mean, he was 29th in the NFL in targets last year. He's a terrible player. Deshaun Watson is a terrible quarterback. It's not going to be a good team, but the volume should be there. Had to grab a kicker in this one, had to grab a defense in this one. So I grabbed Harrison Mevis, who is the even thicker kicker. And then the Minnesota Vikings defense was my next selection there. Ended with two darts for the skill position. Seth McGowan, who will have every chance to win the running back 2 job behind Jonathan Taylor. And then Ted Hurst, who I actually anticipate is going to be much more expensive than this. And you might notice there's a lot of young wide receivers on this team. I took Antonio Williams, Deshaun Stribling, and Ted Hurst. So like all guys who might not play and who I might cut. And that is actually what starting with Puka and Rashi allowed me to do, because those guys are going to be my wide receivers every single week. There's never going to be a start-sit situation. Then Jordan Tyson, if he truly blows up, will have a chance to be my flex starter compared to what happens with the running backs. But also doing the double tight end thing there with Travis Kelce means that my flex options in a given week, just due to the way the scoring system works, I actually think taking the second tight end in these high stakes formats with the tight end premium is quite nice. But here's a look at the full draft board. You guys go ahead and let me know. Comment down below if any of these teams you thought were better than mine. I really liked what Go Bills did here with Lamb, Jefferson, Tyler Warren, Javonte Williams, DeAndre Swift, Adunze, and Kittle. They did the same thing with the double tight end strategy. My guy Abib, the former champion over on the FFPC, $2 million winners drafting back-to-back, also did the same thing. Love his start with Genty and A-Chain, but there's a look at the draft board. I'll actually put a link to that down below if you guys want to take a look at it. But I always love these spots, a real iron sharpens iron situation, drafting against some of the best drafters in the world over on The Hard Way. Make sure you are subscribed to the Mattek Fantasy Football channel for more fantasy football videos. Head on over to flockfantasy.com. You can sign up over there using code Davis. Like the video, and I will see you guys back tomorrow.